Welcome, listeners, to another My Mind Mashups deep dive, where we unravel mysteries, spark curiosity, and make sense of complex ideas together.
Today we are diving headfirst into a story that has pretty much taken over the internet, especially those professional networking sites.
Oh, absolutely. If you've spent any time at all scrolling through LinkedIn or even TikTok and Instagram, you have definitely seen this claim. People who cry easily make the best leaders.
And it's not just presented as, a nice thought. This viral theory is built to hook you right away.
How so?
It says that people who are prone to crying have a kind of rare advantage in their brain's wiring, a secret weapon that was supposedly revealed by a Harvard neurologist, no less.
Right, and they get so specific, which I think is why it spread so fast. The claim is that they have these stronger, faster bridges between the emotional parts of their brain and the logical parts.
And that this wiring gives them supposedly superior conflict prediction. They even put a number on it.
The 40% number.
Yeah.
They're 40% more accurate than, their less emotional peers.
It's the perfect story, really. It reframes emotional sensitivity as a leadership superpower, and it wraps it all in the authority of prestigious science.
But that's our mission for this deep dive, right? To take your sources on this huge feel-good theory and really run it through the data. Is any of this backed by actual neuroscience and leadership research?
Exactly. We want to see if this highly emotional, very shareable story holds up.
Because this deep dive is all about sparking curiosity, challenging our assumptions, and really expanding our understanding of how genuine emotional intelligence works in the brain and, in the real world.
We're looking for the real mechanisms, not just the viral sound bites.
And the truth is usually a lot more nuanced and honestly way more interesting than the hype. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you enjoy content that makes you think.
Okay, so where do we start?
Let's unpack the origin story, because that's usually where you find the first crack in the foundation. Your sources trace this whole thing back to a single LinkedIn post.
Right. Published on November 16th, 2025 by a user named Elijah Kelly. And that post was basically ground zero. It just exploded from there.
And what's so interesting is how it was constructed. It didn't start with an observation. It started with what you call an authority wrapper.
Yes. It uses this dramatic, almost fictional setup. It says, a Harvard neurologist once told her class something that made half the room laugh until she showed the scans.
It's like a movie scene. You can just picture it, right? The skeptical students, the wise professor, the shocking brain scans that prove her right.
But when our sources actually dug into it, they found, well, nothing.
Zero credible attribution.
Zero. There's no Harvard neurologist name. There's no date for this supposed class. There's no verifiable study that matches this amazing revelation.
And we should probably mention, the person who posted it, this Elijah Kelly, doesn't have any credentials in neuroscience or academic research.
No. So the power of the story comes from its recipe. You take a prestigious label, Harvard neurologist, add some dramatic sounding terms like faster connecting brain, and then you tie it to this really clean, inspiring moral.
That crying is a superpower.
And then you anchor the whole thing with that magic number. 40% more accurate prediction.
So that's why it went viral. But now we have to check the actual science. The whole thing really depends on this idea of a faster connecting brain and a stronger bridge between the amygdala and prefrontal cortex.
Okay, so that first phrase, faster connecting brain, is, well, it's pretty much meaningless scientifically. It sounds good, but it's fluff.
But the second part is real anatomy. The amygdala and the prefrontal cortex.
That's the critical part. And to put it in simple terms for you, just imagine your brain has a fire alarm and a control tower.
Okay, I like that. The fire alarm is definitely the amygdala.
Exactly. It's your emotional fire alarm. It generates those immediate raw signals, fear, distress, anxiety. It's the first alert system.
And the prefrontal cortex is the control tower, the executive brake system.
The brake system, yes. It provides the top-down regulation and context. So the amygdala screams, and the PFC is supposed to step in and say,
okay, hang on. That's just a squirrel in the yard, not a bear. Everyone calm down.
Precisely. So strong connectivity between those two is crucial for healthy emotion regulation, for managing stress without, flying off the handle.
So the viral claim is basically saying that people who cry easily have a stronger circuit, which allows for better processing.
That's the implication, that their system is superior.
I feel a very big but coming.
A huge one, because the established verifiable neuroscience points in the complete opposite direction.
The opposite?
Yes. Research, including a very large study of 663 twins, looked at trait neuroticism, which is just the scientific term for the tendency toward anxiety and emotional distress.
The very trait that would predict crying easily.
The very same one. And they looked at how it connects to brain function.
And what did they find?
They found that high neuroticism is consistently associated with weaker, or even disconnected, coupling between the amygdala and the ventromedial PFC.
Whoa. Okay, let's just pause on that because that's the whole game right there. The viral claim says the bridge is stronger for better processing. But the actual science says proneness to emotional overwhelm is linked to a weaker regulatory bridge.
Exactly. Weaker coupling suggests impaired regulatory capacity. It means the control tower isn't connecting effectively with the fire alarm.
So the emotional overwhelm, the crying, happens because the top-down control failed to manage the signal.
Precisely. The science suggests a mechanism of dysregulation, while the viral claim suggests superiority. It's a direct contradiction.
That just blows the whole premise out of the water. Crying easily isn't a sign of better emotional integration. It's a sign that the emotional signal just swamped the system's ability to control it.
Now, to be fair, there is one small part of this that has a kernel of truth. Claim D, the idea that crying is the nervous system processing emotional data in real time.
Which, I mean, isn't that just true of everything we do? We're always processing data.
It is, but crying does mark a really important physiological shift. When you're intensely stressed, your nervous system is in sympathetic arousal, fight or flight.
Right.
The act of crying, especially deep sobbing, actually forces your body toward parasympathetic recovery.
So it's like a biological reset button.
A reset button. It helps the body get back to a calm state, to homeostasis. But again, this doesn't prove the initial processing was better. It proves the emotion was so intense it needed a physical release because the brain's controls were overwhelmed.
Okay, let's move to that magic number. The 40% more accurate claim. This is probably the most persuasive part of the whole myth.
It's the anchor that makes it all sound so real and scientific. A study showed emotional responders predicted conflict 40% more accurately and resolved it faster.
That is so specific, it makes you think, wow, they must have really measured this.
And of all the claims, this is probably the easiest to debunk. Researchers did comprehensive searches, they looked through all the major academic databases, and
they found no peer-reviewed study with this 40% more accurate statistic, not one. It appears to be completely fabricated for the story.
just made up to serve the narrative.
Right. It sounds like a fact, but there's no data behind it. Now, where the claim could have gone and been on firmer ground relates to Claim E, the idea that criers can detect microtensions earlier.
This part, I have to say, sounds plausible. Highly sensitive people probably are better at picking up on subtle cues.
And that's absolutely supported by research into things like empathic accuracy and interoceptive awareness. Basically, your sensitivity to both your own internal emotional state and to external social cues.
So they're better at data input. They can feel the temperature in the room change.
A very valuable skill for a leader, yes. But here's the critical mistake the viral claim makes. It confuses two totally separate traits. Empathy, the ability to understand others' emotions, and crying proneness. They're not the same thing. You can be incredibly empathetic and almost never cry, and you can cry easily without having particularly high empathy. One doesn't automatically mean the other. And if this is resonating, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next deep dive. So we've got a contradicted brain claim, a fabricated statistic, and a confusion between empathy and overwhelm.
Pretty much.
So what about the big conclusion? Claim A. People who cry easily make the best leaders.
The data just does not support that at all. Tearfulness on its own is not a predictor of leadership effectiveness. In fact, when studies use tools like the Adult Crying Inventory, they find that crying proneness correlates very strongly with neuroticism.
Which we already established is that tendency toward anxiety and emotional distress.
Right, and what does the leadership research say about neuroticism?
It's bad for leadership.
It's negatively associated with what's called transformational leadership, that ability to inspire, motivate, and build trust. Leaders high in neuroticism can seem unstable, which just erodes trust.
So the very trait linked to crying easily is also the one that undermines a leader's ability to be that steady, inspirational figure.
Exactly. It gets in the way of projecting calm when things get tough.
So if it's not crying, what is the cornerstone of effective emotional leadership?
Well, that brings us to the real hero of this story.
Emotional intelligence.
Genuine emotional intelligence, or EI. And meta-analyses, so studies of studies, consistently show that EI predicts positive leadership outcomes.
And EI isn't just about feeling things deeply.
Not at all. It's the ability to recognize, understand, regulate, and manage emotions. That regulation piece is key. It's especially critical in jobs with high emotional demands.
Which brings us right back to the prefrontal cortex, doesn't it? The control tower?
That's it. The best leaders process deep emotions without getting overwhelmed by them. They have that emotional awareness plus strong self-regulation. The viral myth only celebrates the first part and completely ignores the second.
And we also have to talk about the messy reality of the workplace, the contextual trap.
Oh, this is so important because tears are never judged in a vacuum.
Right.
Regulated, authentic vulnerability can build incredible trust, but crying easily is often seen through the lens of gender and cultural bias.
So a male leader shedding a single tear at a town hall might be seen as profoundly human, but a female leader crying frequently could be judged as unstable or not composed, which hurts her credibility.
That is the double bind. The outcome is all about context and regulation, not the frequency of tears. Emotional sensitivity is a huge asset, but only when it's managed by that executive function.
Okay, let's wrap this up with a clear synthesis for everyone listening. The core claims, the Harvard story, the stronger brain bridge, that 40% number, they're all either false, fabricated, or unsupported.
Right. What is true, though, is that emotional sensitivity gives a leader valuable data, but it only becomes a superpower when it's paired with that strong prefrontal control.
So the evidence-based picture is this. Effective leadership needs high emotional attunement plus self-regulation.
The actionable insight for you isn't to try and cry more, it's to learn how to harness your sensitivity.
Which means what, practically?
It's a three-step process. First, recognize the emotion use that data your amygdala is giving you. Second, actively regulate the arousal, engage the PFC, the brake system. And third, communicate cleanly and act with compassion, not from a place of overwhelm.
That combination is what actually works in leadership. Like, comment, and subscribe to hear more My Mind Mashups deep dives.
And here's a final thought to leave you with. We know that crying can trigger the calming parasympathetic nervous system and may even release bonding chemicals like oxytocin. So what does it mean for leaders when our workplace culture actively discourages showing tears? Does that stigma actually prevent leaders from accessing one of their body's own natural physiological reset mechanisms? And could that, in the long run, actually hinder their emotional recovery and their effectiveness?
That's a powerful thought. That by fighting the body's natural response, we might be short-circuiting a necessary biological process. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Your perspective could shape our next deep dive.
And you can find My Mind Mashups everywhere you listen. Amazon Music, Audible, Facebook, Pocket Casts, Spotify, TikTok, and YouTube.
Until the next deep dive, keep questioning the viral narrative.